How is it going, film and TV fans? Welcome back to another review on the Film Nerd Reviews channel, and today we're looking at a movie that I have serious opinions on, and I have a couple of friends who really love this movie, but as you'll find out in the course of this video, I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't think it's the worst, but we are talking about 2021's Nightmare Alley, directed by Guillermo del Toro. Has a fantastic, stellar cast, people like Bradley Cooper, Toni Collette, Willem Dafoe, Ron Perlman, Rooney Mara's in this movie, Kate Blanchett is in this movie, who is one of the standout characters, by the way. But as a whole, this movie just feels terribly structured. I mean, you've got the first... I feel like this is split into, obviously, 3 acts, is split into 3 different stories. You've got the first act, where Bradley Cooper's character, Stanton, I'm going to call him Stan for the sake of this video, just to make it easier to, bear, where Stan goes to the carnival, and we see all these, it sets up all these characters that don't come back in the rest of the movie, such as Willem Dafoe's character, Ron Perlman's character, you know, a lot of characters just aren't going to turn up in the later half of the movie, and there's no point setting them up. And so we have this carnival bit, which is by far the best bit of the movie, by the way, because I love the carnival stuff. I think it's really fun. I think Willem Dafoe is brilliant here, and so is Kate Blanchett. Bradley Cooper, listen, the guy's awesome. I think he's brilliant. I'm really pissed off he didn't get nominated for Best Supporting Actor for Licorice Pizza at the Oscars, but I think here his performance is not... It's not worthy of any Oscars or any nominations for anything, because personally I think here he's a bit flat. He doesn't speak for at least a minimum of 10 minutes in this movie, which is never a good sign, and initially made me thought, boy, a silent protagonist, this is going to be fun, wasting an actor who's clearly talented by making him say fuck all. But in circumstances he did actually say stuff. It just took him 10 minutes to fucking say it, to say anything, and he does speak for the rest of the movie, so that's a bonus. I think, like I said, it's a lot of just wasted setup and stuff like the bit where they set up the new carnival, the new show for Rooney Mara's character is just wasted because you see that for 5 minutes. Toni Collette, again, wasted in a portrayal where she's just there for like the first 30 to 40 to 50 minutes of the movie, and then we skip. And then this movie does something that every movie that ever does it terribly. But some movies could, you know what I mean? Like, it's something that never works well when trying to tell a story, and that's jumping in time. Now, in this case, I think this movie jumped 2 years into the future, which already is alarming that there is nothing the movie needs to tell us in that space of 2 fucking years. But then it gets to the point where in that 2 years later, you skip to them being completely out of town. This is the point where Rooney Mara's character and Stan have left the carnival and have gone to the big city kind of thing, and they're performing in big fancy ballroom places and shit, and it's just stupid because it skips to them being there already. Like, there's no setup or build up. You could have done something with setting up their life being there and stuff, and them going there and the journey and stuff, but I get this is a 2.5 hour movie, but jumping 2 years to get to your point is just stupid, and it's clearly only done because they need to jump again to another character and another set of another story altogether, which is really stupid, because you either focus on this part or you don't. It's simple, and that's the issue with this movie. It's just so it's just dull in a lot of places, I'm not gonna lie. The constant changing in narrative and characters is really, like I said, something that really does take the movie away, because then you've got the first 2 acts are short, and then you've got the third act dealing with this Ezra guy and resurrecting his wife, girlfriend, whatever the fuck it is, and it's just like, you could have just told one fucking story, but you chose to cut it up into 3 and not do it well. I don't know if this is how the original Nightmare Alley handled it, I've not seen it, but I'm just going from what I've seen in this movie, and I think this movie didn't handle this kind of structure too well at all. I think it's really just a bit like, you need to work on the structure of this movie. You need to seriously work on choosing one of the 3 stories and running with it, instead of going with 3 different stories and trying to cram 3 stories in a 2.5 hour movie. It's just never going to fucking work, and it didn't work here either, which is the biggest problem with this movie. Now, I want to clarify, do I think this is the worst movie I've seen? No. Do I think it has absolutely gorgeous visuals? Yes. Do I think Del Toro is talented? Yes. Do I think the script is decent? Okay. There are some good things here. Nathan Johnson's score is brilliant. Like I said, the visuals are absolutely fantastic, and if it doesn't win any award for best visuals, best production design, the sets, the production, the costumes, it's all top-notch stuff. Some of the best for this kind of era. It does it well, and does it try and be time accurate very well? Yes, it does. But in my opinion, as much as it does these really good things well, it's got a lot of things wrong with it that I just don't. In my opinion, with this movie, it's the negatives outweigh the positives, and that's an unfortunate thing, because the trailers were good for this movie. There's a lot of good people in it. I love Del Toro's films. I love Blade 2. I love the Hellboy movies. I've not seen Shape of Water, but I've heard good things about it. So I know Del Toro is a talented person who knows what he's doing, but something just went wrong here that forced him to do 3 different stories when you could have just done one, you know? It's just the changing of the narrative, but while also keeping our main character exactly the same, doesn't help. And again, another thing I have a big problem with in this movie is the editing. They use the same motherfucking transition effect, and it just pisses me the fuck off that they've used that multiple times. Listen, I know this sounds like I really hate this movie. I don't. I actually think it's quite a well-made picture, but at the same time, like I said, I just have so many issues with it that I'm probably never going to watch it again, other than now for this review. My friend is talking about it during a college project we're doing. This is one of the movies we're talking about, but it's not me talking about it, so you won't hear this opinion in that thing. It'll be his opinion, so I'm interested to see that properly. But yeah, it's just another thing is that the 2.5 hour runtime isn't an issue, because I've watched longer movies that have kept me far more invested in the characters than this did. So, House of Gucci is a great example. House of Gucci is nearly 10 minutes longer than this movie, and I was far more invested in the characters there, despite the fact that it also has issues with time jumping, but we'll get to that when we get to that, than I was in this movie. And I think that's something that, like I said, it's not the issue that it's 2.5 hours long. The issue is that I'm not invested with a lot of the characters, and unless I said this to my friend when I came out of the movie, is that if you're not hooked in the first 10 minutes, you're not going to enjoy the whole movie. That's the thing. And the problem with saying that sentence is that you can get hooked in the first 10 minutes, but then you might get diverted off of that path because of how it changes so much, which is like a big issue with this movie. It is constant shift in narrative structure, which is just, it's not well structured at all. The structure is the biggest issue in my personal opinion. But I mean, the biggest opportunity here really is the missed opportunity. Del Toro is a great director. There are some seriously talented people in front of and behind the camera, Nathan Johnson's score for instance, but something here just didn't click. It leads to a movie which is less Oscar worthy and more of a disappointment, because look, at the end of the day, this movie has good and bad stuff, but like I said, the bad outweighs the good, my personal opinion. I implore everyone who's watching this review to go and watch it for yourself, because I want to hear as many people possible just different opinions of this movie, because I feel like this is possibly one of the most divisive movies to come out of the last year or so, because quite frankly, there is so much going on here that I can at the same time, as much as I don't like, some of these elements of the movie, I can see why my friend really liked this movie. That may be just because he thinks Bradley Cooper is God, but it may also be because it does have some really good elements to it, and it has potential. That's the issue with this movie. I saw this movie twice in the cinema. This is my 3rd time watching it, and it had potential. I will admit, on the first time I saw this movie, I went out and used the toilet a couple of times because it didn't hook me. So I felt like I didn't need to stay and watch it, and if I really needed to go to the toilet, that's what I did. I went out and went to the toilet because it didn't, I wasn't hooked. The second time I stayed and I watched it all the way through, all the bits I missed. So, and the second time I did enjoy it a lot more. I think it's a good movie, but like I said, negatives outweigh the positives, and that's never a good thing. That doesn't mean that, like I said, there isn't good things about this movie. I don't want you to think that I absolutely hate this movie, because that goes to Moonfall, which I will never talk about unless I really have nothing left to talk about. If you want to know what I think about that movie, go to my letterbox. But even then, that's the fucking most I'm going to talk about this movie. Yeah, like I said, this is not inherently the worst movie I've seen. I think one of my favourite parts of this movie that I have neglected to talk about so far is the fact that Cate Blanchett is so good in this movie, and I was a little bit annoyed that she wasn't nominated for Best Actress or Supporting Actress or whatever category she fits in for this role. I'm surprised she wasn't, because she plays this really mysterious, sleazy kind of character that I really, really like, and I think she is the best performer in this whole movie, bar none. I think Willem Dafoe comes close, but I just think there is no beating what Cate Blanchett brings to that character, and I think another thing, particularly talking about Cate Blanchett's character, is that she doesn't turn up until the last act of the movie. Well, actually, that's not true. She does turn up in the second act, but that's very late in the second act as well. And I think, for me, as someone who saw the posters for this movie and saw that she was front and center on that poster, literally the front figure of Bradley Cooper is above her. The first person you see on the poster is Cate Blanchett, and then it's Bradley Cooper, and then the other two are at the side, as you'll see in the thumbnail. I think it's slightly misleading there, because you're under the impression she'll be in a fairly substantial chunk in the movie when she really isn't in until the first third. And the first time I saw this movie, I was sat there wondering, well, where the fuck is Cate Blanchett for a good chunk of this movie? Because everyone else who was promised on the posters and the trailers had appeared thus far, but Cate Blanchett. And I was just thinking, where is Cate Blanchett? Is she in this movie? There was a point where I was like, well, maybe she's not actually in this movie, but she is. So, also Tim Blake Nelson makes a cameo at the end. And another thing that's interesting, Mary Steenburgen, who you may recognise as the wonderful Clara in Back to the Future Part 3, is in this movie, and she she kills herself. So there's that. Yeah. There's also a guy called Holt McClanary, who is also in Wrath of Man, who I think he's really not given much to do here, and I think that's the same thing with some of the other characters. Specifically, Ron Perlman is just this big, strong guy, and I think he's given nothing to do. He's a talented guy, knows what he's doing. He's just not given much to do here at all. And I think that the same goes for some of the other actors as well and characters. I think you've got the character of let me find it. Heat, which I think he's a really fun character, and one of the characters I actually quite enjoy the most, because he has this nice, I do like the dynamic between the two of them. That's really fun, but at the same time I think there's a lot more that could be done regarding there. And then obviously I really don't like Ezra Grindle at all, played by Richard Jenkins. I think he's a fucking horrible character, terribly done. Could have been something interesting, but like I said, there's no reason for his whole story arc to be there at all. It's just stupid. You've got no reason to push a third story in this already packed movie. I'm sorry, but listen, this as you can see, I have a serious case of lots of issues with this movie, and I think that's mainly because I was really looking forward to this movie. The trailers made it look really good. I do like the carnival. I'm a big theme park fan, so I'm a sucker for any carnival-esque thing. There's a few carnival rides in it, so I was hooked by that. I was also hooked by the fact you've got Guillermo del Toro, who is a fucking legend behind the movie, also in scripting as well. And there's a lot of talented people both in front of and behind the camera once again, so it's just stemmed from the fact that I came out slightly disappointed, to be honest, and slightly like, this isn't working for me. I get why it works for you, my friend who I saw it with, but it's not working for me, and which is why I gave it 3.5 stars, because out of 5, by the way, not out of 10. If it's out of 10, it would be probably be about a 6, maybe even 5.5, to be honest. But it's just so perplexing in trying to just cram these 3 stories in, and this structure that from the get-go was never going to work. But it was like, we can do this, we can try it, but it just didn't work. And I think for me that's the biggest issue I have with the movie, is that it's trying to do too much when telling, like, there's some movies that do it, where it's trying to tell multiple stories when it would have been okay if you just told one, you know? Because at the time, there's so much you could explore with this kind of neo-noir 1940s kind of thing, and they just linger on it for the first act, and then the rest of it feels like it could be in, especially the scenes towards the end of the movie, you feel like it could be in any time period except for when the cars come on screen. So I think the biggest way to describe this movie is wasted potential, but that doesn't mean that it's the worst movie ever. I still think it's fun. I still recommend you give it a watch and see what your opinion is. It is fairly long, like I said, it's 2.5 hours opposed to just 2, but it's clear, no matter what I think of this movie, no matter how I see it, it is clear that everyone on screen, and most likely off screen, but for once, had a lot of fun making this movie. And that's my favourite part of watching a movie, is seeing when people are clearly enjoying making a film and loving every second of the movie making process is brilliant. And that's clear with this movie, much like a lot of other movies these days, that the people are having a lot of fun making the movie. Now, here's something I actually have been wanting to talk about, I haven't got around to talking about yet, and that's the ending of this movie, which is quite possibly the best part of the movie. So, light spoilers, but at the same time, not really. Now, I really, really like the ending, because there's a scene early on in the movie where, obviously, you see in the movie, Willem Dafoe has this, I don't know what they call it, but it's like a guy who eats birds and shit, like almost like a human cannibal kind of thing, but it's like it's what his show is. And it's the scene in the movie where Willem Dafoe's character explains to Bradley Cooper's Stan how he gets those people, because he goes through a lot of them, how he gets that I'm going to call it a cannibal just for this to make it easier, how he gets that cannibal kind of character, how he gets each cannibal, because he goes through quite a lot of them, and he explains how he gets them, and the process and stuff, and giving them lots of alcohol and then making them go, and that then comes into the end of the movie, where that's exactly what happens to our main character, and I think that's such a clever little, I personally didn't see it coming, but when I saw it the second time, someone that I saw it with did see it coming from quite a bit off, and it's interesting to think about that. The second time I saw it with those people, I'd seen it once and they hadn't. I was trying to see if they had figured it, I didn't see it coming. I thought it was really cool. And essentially what it is at the very end of the movie, he then becomes that cannibal kind of character as he applies, and it's Tim Blake Nelson he's talking to, as Tim Blake Nelson has, you see there's a scene earlier on in the movie again as well, where Willem Dafoe's character shows Bradley Cooper's character a baby thing in a jar, and you can clearly, and also Bradley Cooper has a camera that he sells for $5. And at the end of the movie, during the scene with Tim Blake Nelson and Bradley Cooper's got a big struggly beard like the cannibal character do and stuff, and during that segment, and during that ending with Tim Blake Nelson, you see the camera and the baby on the jar, and then Stan notices this and says, oh, where'd you get that? And he said, and then Tim Blake Nelson says, so I got it from a previous Arnie and shit like that. But yeah, the final scene this movie has is just Bradley Cooper laughing maniacally, which is really brilliant. And I think what makes it 10 times better is when it just cuts to black, and then it lingers on just a black screen for about 10 to 15 seconds, then it cuts to credits instead of just cutting straight to credits, which gives it more impact, more oomph, which I really love. So like I said, there's some really good things in this movie, and the ending is one of those things. I think it's a cool twist, it comes full circle and stuff, and that is why I think this movie just has some serious, like I said, there are some really good elements to it. Nathan Johnson's score, which we're hearing now, is really fun. It is unfortunate that Desplat got displaced, but Alexander Desplat was originally going to score this movie, which would have given it at least another star in my personal opinion. Not that I don't like Nathan Johnson, but I think just Alexander Desplat is a superior level of composer, and he would have made this movie 10 times better. But alas, it is what it is. I have no idea why Desplat had to pull out, because he's got nothing coming up on his schedule at the moment, unless you count Asteroid City, the next Wes Anderson picture. Even still, that's not going to be in the scoring process for a while, as it was shooting at the time this movie was due to be scored. So I've got no idea what the fuck he was doing. It's stopped him from doing it. But at the same time, like I said, it's just a waste of potential. I think I really like the concept. I really like I said, the best part about this movie is the ending, and the fact that the visuals, the costumes, and the production design are absolutely gorgeous. They are jaw-dropping. They're fantastic. yeah, they are just such a brilliant part of this movie. They are fucking brilliant. I have to admit, it's classy to see how good the production design and costume design are for this movie. But yeah, it's a really messy movie, if you ask me, that has some good and some bad. It has, great performances and gorgeous visuals, like I said, but the problem is so much of it is dedicated to the throwaway characters at the beginning that the needed development for the main cast is just slightly sacrificed, and as a result the film feels like a messy mashup of three totally different movies stitched together, which is really unfortunate in that regard. I mean, aside from that, it's a decent psychological thriller with decent surprises, great performances, and again, I cannot stress this enough, gorgeous visual design. It is just such a class act of a movie in terms of visuals and stuff. And like I said, another thing I love about this movie is Cate Blanchett's character. She is so fantastic. She's just this really so fantastically twisted kind of character, and the ending for her character is really, really good as well. And I have to admit, she is by far the best character in this whole movie. So yeah, thank you so much for watching my review of Nightmare Alley, the latest movie by Guillermo del Toro. I've been wanting to talk about this movie for a while. In fact, I had made the thumbnail quite a while ago after I'd seen it the second time, but I obviously had the X-Men franchise, so I couldn't just slip this one in there. So I am happy that I managed to talk about this movie. Leave a comment below. I really want to know what other people think about this movie, because going in I was expecting this really top tier thriller, but I didn't get what I was hoping for. But like I said, there's still lots of good to it, so please tell me what you think below in the comments below. And yeah, Nightmare Alley was released by Searchlight Pictures during 2021, late 2021 in the United States, and 2022 in the United Kingdom, which is why this video says Nightmare Alley 2022, because that's what it is in the United Kingdom. Leave me the fuck alone. Yeah, go check out the other stuff on the channels, the other movie reviews. Like I said, the Film Nerd Extra stuff is starting up again next week, I promise, fingers crossed. We are doing some more commentary kind of videos. The next one is about how Days of Future Past is better than the entire MCU. Fuck off. Yeah, the music stuff, we've obviously got the EP dropping in I think just under a week now. Yeah, in nearly a week's time. So look forward to that. We've also got other stuff dropping in March. We've got a few things dropping in March. We've got 2 singles, an EP, and the deluxe edition of the Alton album. So look forward to that. March is a pretty stacked month for music. There might be another an additional special release depending on when we get the shooting and filming done for this project. It's a college project. It's a project where I've put nearly an hour's worth of music into it so far. So that is going to be my first full original soundtrack album. So I cannot wait to drop that. It's going to be good. It's some of my best work as well. So I'm very much looking forward to dropping that on Spotify. Also, another thing I forgot to mention at the beginning of this video is that obviously, starting with yesterday's one, I didn't mention it because I made that after the video and after I had edited and recorded the video, and that is, I have a new intro music because I really didn't like the old one. So I've got new intro music that I actually quite like, that I've done myself. That is going to be going live on Spotify ASAP as soon as it gets it's going to be listed as February 18th, but at the moment it's currently it's being processed by Spotify, and so I will be putting a link in the description to both videos to it. I'll be putting a pre-save link in the description for it, and you can also so you can listen to it when it goes live. I also have wonderful new playlists on the Spotify profile, including Best Of, Complete, the chill stuff, all my chill tracks, my favourite chill tracks. All the tracks from Alton Towers, Thorpe Park, Chessington, Adventureland and Legoland all have their own separate playlists now, although the Adventureland and Legoland ones are currently empty because nothing is up on Spotify for that yet, but there are for the others. We've got a playlist dedicated to the stuff using the YouTube track, so that's the intro musics plus the review themes that I do, which will keep coming for stuff like Unstoppable and Cool Runnings as well. And we've got a playlist dedicated to all the stuff I do for my college tracks, and then there is a playlist dedicated to the albums and EPs as well. So look forward to that stuff being constantly updated. Please do not forget to check out the music. Great deal. Thank you for 170 subscribers, by the way. That's a new thing. So yeah, this has been my review of Nightmare Alley. Have a wonderful day, and bye bye for now.